Hey, this is Jesse with Createthis. This Christmas we are building a Hackintosh. I just bought all of this stuff on Amazon. I think all of it, yeah, all of it came from Amazon. It's all Prime, so I got 2-day shipping on it. And let's go down the list here. By the way, all of these products will be down below in the description. If you want to click on it and buy your own or build your own Hackintosh, you can use exactly the same parts that I used, assuming that the products don't go out of stock. So this is the Intel Core i7 processor. It says it's a 4790k LGA 1150. This is 16 gigabytes of RAM, 8 gigabytes Sport Ballistix, DDR3 1600. This back here is a Gigabyte Z97 HD3 motherboard. This is a Samsung SSD 850 EVO. This is a rather small SSD. It's only 120 gigabyte. We're mostly going to be using this Hackintosh for video editing. So I have a separate hard drive that will be used for video storage, and it's a traditional magnetic, like 3 or 4 terabyte drive. I don't remember. This is the TP-Link wireless dual band PCI Express adapter. So this is going to be for Wi-Fi. This is going to be upstairs, so not near the router, so we need Wi-Fi for it. This is a Corsair RM series RM650 power supply. I think it's a 650 watt. This is a 2 gigabyte GeForce GT 740 graphics card. Now, this is not like high-end. This is kind of middling range. I didn't really need like a crazy good graphics card, and I can always upgrade it to something better later on. So this is kind of like an El Cheapo $80 graphics card. And then this is the case. So I think that's pretty much it. Let's put this thing together. I don't think I mentioned it before. This is a Vengeance C70 case, also by Corsair. These are supposed to be pretty cool. They're kind of like ammo cases. I think this one is on its front right now. So there's the rear with all of our ports and everything. It's actually upside down. Here's the bottom. Filters, I guess, washable filters. Yeah. Pretty nice. Cool little military style buttons there. It's pretty cool. This I like. Pops open. Then the thing comes off. It's pretty nice. So I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. Looks like it comes with some fans, which is good. I was hoping that it would. Oh. 2 fans here as well. Big ones, big, huge fans. That's nice. It looks to me like this whole bay is removable, but I don't want to. I'm having trouble with the screw here. I don't want to break it. Dropping screws already. Man, so it begins, huh? Okay, so these are modular, but I would have to remove some screws like right here to remove it, it seems like. So I'll just put that back. This is the first case that I've bought in 10 years, at least 10 years. I'm a developer, so I mostly use laptops. So these things, looks like you just kind of slide out like little trays. Slide that one out. Oh, fancy. They've drilled holes in the sides to match up with the hard drive pins. So this is just additional adapters like USB 3.0 to, header adapters and screws and, all that cool stuff. All right, we'll just set this aside for a minute. Put these back in. Cool. All right, next item on the table is the Gigabyte Z97 HD3 motherboard. SATA cable or something, I'm not sure. There's the motherboard itself. And and an assortment of doodads and such, drivers, etc. Probably won't need any of that. So not that we're going to be using it, but we've got DVI out and VGA. Looks like we've got HDMI. Is that HDMI? Yeah, HDMI also. USB, I'm sure it's 3.0. No optical out for the audio, but I don't really care because it's just going to be a video editing machine. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay, this is my first time building a PC in, I don't know, a long time, 10 years, something like that. So I'm not an expert here. If I do something wrong, or you've got a suggestion for a way to make this better, let me know down in the comments down below. I'm not an expert, I'm just a hobbyist. So all right, let's do this. Let's take this lid off. I think the first step is going to be to install the motherboard. Okay, here's our motherboard. Oh, that's right. It's got to butt up against the back of the case, otherwise you won't be able to plug anything in. Okay, so I think at this point, it's probably a good idea to install this backing thing here on the motherboard. There we go. Thought that looked funny. Okay. Maybe this thing just pushes into the window here on the back. Yeah. There we go. Nice. All right, so that's resting on its studs. I've got the faceplate installed, so now I just need to screw it down. So you can't see it, it's off camera, but I've just laid out the screws that came in the case. In that little box, I'm laying them out on the table. That way I've got easy access to them. They come in these little Ziploc-y bag things. I'm gonna keep those Ziploc-y bag things. I'm gonna probably reuse them later. Okay, I just installed this screw here and I moved the camera angle so that you can see it because I realized that you couldn't see it. So far there's 1, 2, and then I think I've got to do 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like that one's a pin though, so maybe only 5. Sometimes you get that one screw that just doesn't want to go in. I'm sure there's a stress relieving pattern that you're supposed to tighten these in. I think generally as long as you tighten one that's further away from the one that you just tightened, you're probably okay. Might be wrong, I don't know. They don't need to be super, super tight. Just snug so the board doesn't move around. Okay, next step, we could install the RAM if we wanted to, but I'm going to install the CPU. So this is that thing that comes in the blue box, and this is the CPU itself. It's fairly small, but usually what you end up seeing is you end up seeing this big beast of a heatsink. Now, most people, I don't know most people. A lot of people choose to install their own cooling solutions. I'm just going to use the heatsink that came with the processor because I'm a cheap bastard. So before you install one of these, you just get the user manual and you look in here. And it says, "You're too stupid to install this. Go home and call a professional." No. It's pretty simple. So yeah, they say screw stuff down to the motherboard. Then they say lift this little pin thing here, okay? So we're gonna do that. Little pin thing is lifted, okay. Then they say flip up the hatch. Hatch is flipped, okay. Then they say very carefully put the CPU down on top of all of that. Now, back when I used to do this, these CPUs had like pins on them, but nowadays you can see they do not have pins, they're just flat surfaces. So that actually, I think that reduces your chance of really screwing something up royally. So let's very carefully do that. We're gonna try not to touch any of the contacts. Back in my day. Now, let's see. How does this go? I see this one's marked with a gold pip. Okay, So see the triangle right here on the motherboard? I think the gold pip on the CPU goes right there in the triangle. So I'm just going to very carefully drop this down on there. Oh God, I broke it! No, I'm kidding. I mean, I think I'm kidding, you know. Okay, so next it says, lift up the back hatch from this thing. It's kind of awkward. You would think that they would just let me do that before I put the CPU on, but whatever. Okay, and then after the hatch is removed, you're just gonna push it down and lock the bar. Push it down. Oh God, that's a lot of force. Is that okay? Seems all right. Looks like it's in the right place. And it's quite a bit of force. Wow. Wow, that thing is really on there. All right. It is not coming off. Okay, and then we're taking our fan here and we are pushing the fan down on top of it. I say fan, I mean. Now, this is heat transfer paste, so that's very important. Don't scratch that off. It has to be on there, otherwise you won't transfer heat efficiently from the processor to the cooling fins, heatsink. So you can see on this fan, it's got this little clippy thing here. I don't know what that clippy thing is really designed for, but I'm going to use it to just hold the fan in place, or the fan cable in place here, because this is, you can see it labeled here, it says CPU fan. That's my CPU fan connector. So I'm gonna leave that there. And as long as it doesn't touch, it should be fine. As long as the cable doesn't touch the fan. You always want your fan to spin freely. Then you just push down on these little tabs one at a time and they lock in place. Believe it or not, that's it. Then you mount your CPU fan cable. Boom, done. Spins freely. I'm gonna give it a little bit of slack anyway. There we go. And the cool thing is, if you want to remove these, like if you want to remove the CPU cooler here, all you do is get a screwdriver and there's a little slot right there. And you just stick it in the slot and you turn it 90 degrees and the whole thing will come off. But you'll probably want to like reapply heat paste at that point or something. I don't know. Okay, time to install the RAM. The RAM goes in these slots here. According to the user manual, this thing will support up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. I only have 16 gigabytes of RAM at the moment, and that's fine with me because I don't need any more than 16 for anything that I do. You know, if you do, buy some more RAM, hey. So this is interesting. It says, due to CPU limitations, read the guidelines before installing memory in dual channel mode. Dual channel mode cannot be enabled if only one DDR3 memory module is installed. When enabling dual channel mode for 2 or 4 memory modules, and we've only got 2, it is recommended that memory of the same capacity, brand, speed, and chips be used and installed, blah, 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 blah. For optimum performance, when enabling dual channel mode with 2 memory modules, we recommend that you install them in DDR3 1 and DDR3 2 sockets. So that's what we're gonna do. So 3.1 is this gray one, and 3.2 is this other gray one, and they're labeled right there on the motherboard. So, you know, installing RAM is pretty straightforward. It's probably one of the most straightforward things. You just take the memory module, and helps if you open up these little clippy things on both sides. Take the memory module, there's a little key in the center, so it's like offset from the center, so you can't install it backwards. So just look where the key is on the board there, and then slide your memory in. And as you push, those little things on the side will close. So you just push down firmly, until they snap closed. So I've got 8 gigabytes here and 8 gigabytes here, and if I wanted to order the same stack of memory, I could have 32 gigabytes by putting another one here and there in the black modules, so that's pretty cool. And memory is fairly cheap these days, so. Okay, now we're gonna install the power supply. So this is gonna be our power supply. This is a Corsair RM650. So you've got all your power ports here and C-Link, whatever the hell that is. And you've got your AC in here and your button. So basically what a power supply does is just about every device on the planet is DC, right? But we use AC to transfer electricity throughout the wiring in homes because you can transfer more power over thinner wires, right? So the purpose of a power supply is to take the AC power that comes in here and convert it into DC power that the computer uses through these ports. So a power supply is a very important component of your computer because A, it supplies power for the whole thing. So if this is a shoddy piece of work, then you're going to be getting poor quality DC power. You might have spikes or brownouts or whatever. That'll affect the reliability of your computer drastically. Also, you know, a cheap power supply is less likely to be long-lasting. If there are quality components in your power supply, then it'll last a nice, good long time. This is a fairly heavy one. You know, and also how loud is your computer, right? Like, so this has a fairly large fan. It says on the sticker here, silent operation at low to moderate loads. In this mode, the fan will not spin. So if you want a very quiet computer, you should probably get a fairly large power supply that has that sort of a function out, you know, that sort of a feature. The downside of that is, if you oversize your power supply, say your computer only draws 450 watts and you put in a 750 or an 850 watt power supply, the power supply will be more inefficient if it's oversized. So really, ideally, you want a power supply that's fairly well sized for your computer so that your computer will operate at maximum efficiency, especially if you're using the full resources of the computer all the time, as in gaming or video editing or something like that, right? So yeah, apparently 3 components here are Corsair. The RAM, is that right, the RAM? No, the RAM is crucial. The power supply is Corsair and the case is Corsair. So two of these components are Corsair. It's kind of interesting. I think maybe they used to make like RAM or something, or maybe I'm thinking of Crucial. I think I've used them before for things, but never for a case and a power supply, so that's kind of cool. One thing that I love about this case is that they put the power supply at the bottom. The reason why that's a fantastic idea is because power supplies make heat. They're not 100% efficient, and so they convert some of the electricity that comes in through the AC into heat as they're converting it into DC. So heat rises, right? So when you have your power supply down here on the bottom of the case, like so, what happens is the heat is created down here, it rises, and the fans at the top of the case and also the open mesh net up here at the top will allow the heat to escape the case, which keeps you from baking your RAM, it keeps you from baking your CPU. Heat is the enemy of electronics, so you want to keep all of this stuff as cool as possible. But, you know, the flip side of that is you also want to keep it as quiet as possible, right? So back in the 2000s, the early 2000s and the 90s, they always used to put the power supply at the top of the case, and I always thought that was a terrible idea. So I really like that they put it down here. Also, it keeps the weight low, which gives it a lower center of gravity. That's kind of cool too. All right, so enough of that rant. Remove that dude. Okay, and I think we just mount the screws in. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we just mount some screws in, but we'll take a look. I've got 3 different kinds of screws. These are the same ones that I used on the motherboard here, 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 and here. I think I'm going to try using these same ones on the power supply just to keep it pegged in place there. So on the back side of the computer here, Yeah, looks like that's gonna work. Okay, and there are 4 screws on the back of this power supply. One of them is just offset a little bit. It's not exactly in the corner of the power supply. That's actually a good thing because that way you can't install the fan facing down into the bottom of the case, which would really be a bad idea. Okay, and then they give you all these cables that come with the power supply. We'll do something with these in a minute. This is, you know, just your power cable that goes on the back. Okay, so before I attach cables to the DC end of the power supply here, I just noticed a couple of cables sitting around loose. So I've got this one for the fan, and then I've got this one for, you know, like the front cables of the case, front USB, things like that. So let's go ahead and install these before we add even more cables to the mix, because we've got our motherboard mounted. There's no reason not to do it. So, all right. First, we'll get our fan. I'm gonna hold on to that twist tie because I like to make things clean and neat after I've taken it apart. So right here it says sysfan 1 and sysfan 2. So I'm just going to install this one in sysfan 1. Make sure you get it on the header. There we go. And I'll just put this little cable wrap back on. It might be a little premature for wrapping it back up, but we'll see. I like to keep things neat. Okay, now for this bunch of cables down here. And we've still got to do these 2 fans for our drive bays too. Oh, this is interesting. It says SS. Never seen that before. Okay, so that's USB. I like these little grommet things. Those are kind of cool. So I think this is my USB. I think SS really goes there. That's like a floppy USB boot adapter thing, I think. Since we no longer use floppy drives, they've finally gotten rid of them. We still had them the last time I put a computer together, but it's been a while. Okay, so this says HD audio, right, because there are audio jacks on the front of the case. That's pretty cool. Okay, and so I see a little port right here that says front audio, F audio, and there's a pin that's blank here. So I'm gonna match that up with the pin that's missing. That's one cable connected. Okay, and this SS, I'm gonna plug into the USB thing here. It's pretty cool. Okay, so for these, you've just got to find where they go on this really complicated header pin thing right here. And they're all labeled, so I'm just going to take them one at a time. They've got a little triangle symbol right there. I'm going to assume that's positive. And they're labeled positive on the board, which is nice. Okay, that's one. That was the hard drive. Reset switch. Right there. Power switch. Right there. And this one's probably power LED. Yeah, power LED. Individual pins. It's kind of weird. Takes care of that. So next, now that we've got those out of the way, let's do these fans so that we've got some nice cooling for our wicked cool drive bays. It's so cool. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could do like a RAID 4 setup or something. It's kind of neat. Haven't done a RAID array in a long time. Not sure I'd want to attempt it on a Hackintosh. Last time I did one was with Linux. It was only RAID 1, I think. All right, so fan. So we've got sysfan 2 and sysfan 3 over here. I guess I'll just put this one in sysfan 2. Getting a little messy in here, but we'll clean it up as best we can. Or maybe we'll just throw the case on. Who cares? Cover on. All right, and then this one is sysfan 3, and the little plastic block thing is facing this way, whereas on those it's facing that way. So you just got to make sure that you put the pin things beside the plastic block. Just kind of helps make sure that you've got the pin out right. I can go ahead and wrap that fan back up, I think. There we go. I'll leave this one loose. I'll wrap it up. Not much point to that, but whatever. Sweet. So this is the hard drive that I bought. As you can see, it doesn't fit the 3.5 form factor. It's like a laptop hard drive or something. I think that's okay. It's 120 gigabytes. It was kind of cheap, inexpensive. I'm probably just gonna roll with it, and maybe I'll buy like an adapter so that it's mounted securely. But for now, I think it's fine if it just flops around. It's not like these have like spinning platters in them and they need to be mounted like uber securely or anything anymore. I just can't get over how small they are now. 120 gigabytes right in the palm of my hand like that. It's so light. It's crazy. So the motherboard came with a couple of SATA connectors, so just plug that in like that. Oh, I'm sorry. I think this one is supposed to go on here. There we go. That way all the pins on the motherboard are vertical and they're not bumping into each other. And according to this diagram right here, pin 1 is right there. So, all right. We'll just, you know, that sucks, but I'll fix it later. All right, I don't think I mentioned what I was doing this for before. This project is actually for, I've got 3 teenage boys in the house, and they're into YouTubing. So this machine is so that they can edit videos quickly. Right now they're using, 2 of the boys are using their mom's laptop, and my son's using, you know, one of my old laptops from like 4 years ago or something, right? 5 years ago. So they're using really outdated tech, and I wanted to, you know, give them an edge and let them edit a little more quickly, and also have something up in their room that I could edit with if I want to. Say I'm doing like a long video or something. So this is going to be my mass storage drive for the boys. I'm going to use external USB 3 drives for myself because I've already got my content on those. But for the boys, they'll use this one. This is a 3 terabyte Seagate. Let's hook that up next. Oh, and one of the, that's weird. One of the SATA cables was a right angle cable and the other one's straight. I'm not sure why that is, but whatever. Doesn't matter to me either way. And this one will actually be able to mount properly. These drive cages are so cool. So you just line up these pins here. Wait, why doesn't that fit? Took me a second to figure out what was going on here. So the way these work is you can't put them in with the cable coming out the front because this thing gets in the way, right? So what you do is you flip it around backward. I used to have to screw these into their caddies all the time. This is so nice, just being able to clip it in. And you take the cable and you run it down the back through these grommets. And so that way the cable's, you know, out of the way-ish. It's kind of cool, you know, I don't know. It's okay. Seems like there's not going to be enough slack to me. I don't know. Nope, that is pretty cool. Okay, that's going to work just fine. So yeah, so once you got your cable there, you just right like that, and then boom, you're all set. That's super cool. I love that. Next to last, the all-important graphics card. Again, this is a middling graphics card. It's not, you know, like a $400 graphics card. It's only like 80 bucks, something like that. But this is going to be significantly better than anything that you'll find on a laptop computer, unless you spent quite a bit of money for your laptop. So, so it'll be more than enough for video editing. And apparently, video editing uses the graphics GPU quite a bit for transcoding and things like that. So. Or, yeah, transformations, whatever. The last one that I bought for my son, he was doing like some gaming, you know, so his was huge. It was like a dual slot, and it required power from the, you know, from the power supply down here, routed directly to it. It was massive. This thing, you know, it's just a It's just a little graphics card. It's fine. It doesn't. It's got HDMI out right there, but you need an adapter. It's the little tiny HDMI out, and it's got 2 DVI slots. Looks like. Yeah, these just slot right in. Shouldn't be a big deal. Man, I got to tell you, I really like this case. It has all thumb screws. They're really nicely machined. I haven't had to use a tool yet. It's pretty awesome. And again, I can always buy a higher performance graphics card if I need one, and I probably will at some point. I mean, I fully envision myself buying a really beefy graphics card next year when the Oculus Consumer Edition hits the market or something like that. I really want to play with that tech. I've been holding off all this time, but I'm sure my boys want to play with that tech too, so. All right. So there's the graphics card, and the last bit is the Ethernet or the Wi-Fi card. Now I hate USB Wi-Fi dongles. They never seem like they work. They always have like boot up problems, or they don't connect well, or they don't have good signal or whatever. This thing is really cool. It's got these little rubber duck antennas that all, you know, screw on there, and it's internal, so man, it should boot up just fine and act just like it's, you know, an integrated part of the system, hopefully. So yeah, I'm really excited to finally have one of these on a desktop machine. I've been using desktop machines for years with those little USB dongles, and I couldn't bring myself to do another one of those USB dongles. So this thing just it's so interesting. Just slots right in there. Little short card. It rides the short bus. Get it? Because it's a bus. It's like a PCI bus. That was a dad joke. Just screw these little antennas on the back. It's got 3 of them. It's really cool. I don't know what you use 3 for, but I assume it's 3 times as gooder. All right, let's see. So we've got a hard drive, we've got a SSD for storing the operating system, we've got power supply, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got a VGA card, VGA, I mean, whatever, graphics card. We've got RAM, we've got a CPU, we've got power cords tying it all together. All of our accessory fans, our system fans, are attached to the board. The front panel is attached via this little dude right here. So I think the only thing left to do is wrap up some cables here so they don't get away from us, and put the lid back on, and I think we're good to go. Time to fire it up and see what happens. I think I'm gonna end this video right here. I'll make part 1 about the software or about the hardware, and then I'll make part 2 about the software. So, you know, I'm on a deadline. I gotta get this done by Christmas because it's one of the gifts. It's the biggest gift. All of this stuff was about $1,000. I'll wrap it up right here. So again, remember, all of this hardware is available down below in the description of the video. You can click on the links. I get a tiny commission when you do that, and it helps me support the channel and continue making awesome videos for you to enjoy and maybe learn something from. If you did learn something or you found this interesting, please click the like button. You know, if you hated it, click the dislike button. Leave us a comment down below if I did anything wrong, if you know, you would have liked to see me do something else, or if you have any questions, or you know, just comments, or you know, you just want to shoot the shit or whatever, man, just leave me a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.